Mike. Vote.
Now let's tell you about Donald Trump's team. The full list is still in the making, but some key positions appear to be locked in, like Secretary of State, National Security Advisor, and the Border Control Chief. These are the top officials in any government. So who has been chosen for these posts and what does it say about Trump 2.0? Let's start with the Secretary of State, basically America's foreign minister. It will most likely be this man, Marco Rubio. He's a senator from Florida. He ran against Donald Trump in 2016, but now he's a close ally. And his politics? Well, Rubio is a foreign policy hawk. He advocates aggressive tactics against American rivals, especially China, Venezuela, and Iran. He has questioned Chinese technology, Chinese industrial policy, and China's attempts to dethrone the US dollar. So Marco Rubio is very anti-China. And he's also very pro-Israel. He has refused to blame Israel for the civilian deaths in Gaza. He says it's 100% Hamas's fault. So Rubio, as foreign minister, would be a message to China, Israel, and Iran. Then we come to Trump's second pick, Mike Waltz. He will be the national security advisor, most likely. Now, Waltz is a congressman from Florida. He's a retired army colonel, and he too is a China hawk. What's more, he's a co-chair of the India Caucus. What is the India Caucus? It's a group that promotes relations between India and the US. It influences Washington's policy vis-a-vis India. The India Caucus is bipartisan. It has both Democrats and Republicans as members. And now the man heading it, co-chairing it, will be America's national security advisor. So this would be a message to India. Mike Waltz also serves on the Foreign Affairs Committee. He says the US needs to do more in the Indo-Pacific. If not, China may have the advantage. Now, both these choices make one thing clear. Trump 2.0 will focus heavily on China and not the good kind of focus. Whether it's trade or technology or chips, expect Donald Trump as president to ramp up the pressure on Beijing. And there's one more thing to note. Unlike Trump, Rubio and Waltz are not isolationists. An isolationist is typically someone who opposes involvement in the wars and affairs of other countries. Donald Trump does that. He's an isolationist. But Waltz and Rubio are not. Waltz had asked Biden to redeploy soldiers to Afghanistan. And Rubio openly backs Ukraine. Now, both men have recently diluted their positions to match Trump. But their past record is quite different. It was interventionist, not isolationist. Perhaps some relief for Europe and Ukraine there. And now the final foreign policy pick, the US ambassador to the United Nations. Trump has selected a congresswoman, Elise Stefanik. She doesn't have a lot of experience, but she is a staunch ally of Donald Trump. She shot to fame earlier this year when she grilled college principals for pro-Palestine protests. So her politics matches with Trump. And that wraps up foreign policy. Now let's look at the domestic departments. Donald Trump has picked Lee Zeldin to lead the Environment Protection Agency, or the EPA. Now, Zeldin is a former congressman from New York. It's a strange pick because he does not have the credentials for this job. He never talked about the environment on the campaign trail, but he's still been chosen, again, because of loyalty. In 2020, he voted against certifying Joe Biden's election victory. I guess Trump is now rewarding him for that. He's likely to pick another loyalist for Homeland Security. Homeland Security is like America's home ministry. And the chosen one is Kristi Noem. She is the governor of South Dakota. She was on the short list for Trump's running mate. If confirmed, she'll have a big role to play now because Trump is planning a mass deportation program. He wants to round up illegal migrants and send them back to their home countries. And for that, he needs Homeland Security. A few other names are also floating around, like Linda McMahon for Commerce Secretary. She's a former CEO of World Wrestling Entertainment, Commerce Secretary. And Bill Hagerty for Treasury Chief, a senator and former ambassador. Now, there's still no clarity on the two big appointments, the two biggest appointments, in fact, Pentagon Chief and Attorney General. And why are they the most important? Because Trump has grand plans for them. In his first term, he faced resistance from the Pentagon. He had 5 different defense secretaries. Now, Pentagon is like America's defense ministry, and the defense secretary is the equivalent of a defense minister. Trump had 5 of them in 4 years. They abandoned him. Some generals even called him a fascist. So this time, Trump has a new plan: install a loyalist in the Pentagon, a yes man who will carry out his orders, whether it's firing so-called woke generals or ending diversity training or rolling back NATO commitments. Same with the Justice Department. It is headed by the US Attorney General. Last time, Trump fired his first Attorney General. The second one said Trump should be nowhere near the White House. So what's the plan this time? Again, to install a loyalist. Trump's team says that this is going to be the most important pick. The Attorney General can influence investigations, target political rivals, and let Trump off the hook in his own cases. You may have noticed some names missing from this list, like Vivek Ramaswamy, Elon Musk, Robert Kennedy Jr. Have they been snubbed? Well, not necessarily. Vivek Ramaswamy could still end up heading the Education Department. Musk is likely to be an advisor, not a secretary. And RFK Jr. will most likely end up at the Health Department. This is what the new team is looking like. But appointments are not the hard part. Stability is, continuity is. Trump needs to make sure that he doesn't burn through secretaries like he did the last time. Remember, some of these appointments have to be confirmed by the US Senate. So replacing these people is going to be time-consuming. To avoid that, he's stacking the cabinet with loyalists. He certainly has the mandate to do that, but it does set the stage for tensions in Washington.